Hi, I'm Sandy. Welcome. I will show you around in Tattoogenda. This is all test data, so no worries, we can do whatever we want. This is the first screen that you will land on after you are logged in, and it's your digital calendar. On this calendar, you see a few appointments already, and on the left-hand side, you have a full column with all the artists. This is a mix of resident artists. A resident is somebody who's always there, or guest artists. Your guests, they come and go, which makes that you can have a really long list, but that doesn't mean they are all here simultaneously. You have a week view. We are on the week view. This one is useful when you want to see where there is a place available to make a new booking. But if you go to day view, this might be more interesting if you have a busy schedule and it's in the morning and you want to welcome all your customers, then you want to see what is happening today and who you are welcoming. I go back to week view for now. You can already see there are appointments who have a red dot. This red dot means that these customers did not pay a deposit yet. Then you can also see appointments with a green dot. The green dot means that there has been a payment received for this appointment. So the customer already paid in full for this tattoo. If you have a receptionist helping you out, then it is very possible that their task is to have all the appointments of that day appearing with a green dot. If every customer has paid, then their job might be finished for the day, depending exactly on how you work. I will show you this appointment, for example. This is my artist Cedric. He has a tattoo appointment now. It could have been, instead of a tattoo appointment, a talking about design appointment. It could have been a checking design appointment, a free touch-up, or a consultation. The rest here as test data, never mind. It could also have been piercing appointments. You can define all the different piercings if you wish, or it could have been like a private meeting or even a team meeting or something like that. This is all parameterizable. You can choose which kinds of services that you offer in your studio. This is my customer, Alexandra Hendricks. For each customer, you immediately see this history icon, and if you just click it or you hover over it, on iPad it's tapping, you will see the whole history of that customer. You will see how much they spent per project. You will see what services it was with which artist, what was the date of the appointment. Again, this is a lot of test data. So for example, this project, the customer spent 3,200 euros. They cancelled one time, but it was on time. And they had two appointments that happened with the amounts that were paid for the separate appointment. If this customer has been a no-show on you in the past, it would also say, like here it says this customer cancelled on time, here it says the customer cancelled too late, and here it says it was a no-show. Voila. So every time you make a new appointment and you select your customer, then you can quickly check the history of that customer. Next is the project. This is where Tattoogenda makes a real difference. With the generic beauty industry software solutions, you don't have projects. A project here is like a top level, it's the tattoo. Your tattoo can have one or multiple appointments. So your project has one appointment or it has multiple appointments. Because a tattoo oftentimes needs more than one appointment. If you make a full sleeve, for example, you have one project, the sleeve, where you keep all the data about that sleeve, what the customer wants, the communication you had, the deposit that has been paid, and then you create your 7 separate appointments and you all connect them to that same project. Let's say you are using Google Calendar, for example. There you would have 7 different appointments, and then every time you need to search for the data, you have to scroll back to the first appointment, or maybe you have to search in which one of the appointments that you mentioned the extra requests that your customer made. With this one, you don't have to go back. You just select the parent level project. This is a very small summary of what that project contains, but you can open the project to see more details by using this pencil or the bigger button. Let's do that. So the title of my project is a sea landscape. Again, this is my customer, this is my artist. You can write what was the booking channel through which the customer booked. If you're a really big shop, this might be interesting. Like you can say it was Instagram, TikTok, email, WhatsApp, whatever. Here you see who was booked in, when the booking was made. So basically, if you have 2 receptionists, you know which one of the 2 made the booking, or you know if it was the artist who made the booking or your receptionists. Also, you see on which date it was booked. Now we go to the tattoo information. Here you write the place on the bodies, for example, the arm. You write the size, full upper arm outside. You write if it is colored or black and gray, and then you write a description. In the description, it's possible that you are gonna paste the communication that you had on Instagram or WhatsApp, or maybe in your email or in your ticketing inbox. You can upload references, so here you add the images that your customer send you, and then on the price tab you enter the price that you mentioned to the customer while making the booking. Oftentimes, in our case at least, we write a price range. So here I would write the prices between 100 and 150 euros. And then for the estimation, you could say 1.5 hours. It could also be for price that you mentioned 800 euros per session, and then the estimation is 6 to 7 sessions, for example. This is just for you to remember what you have told the client. The customer does not see this. Then you see that the required deposit is 100. So for this artist, you define it on artist level. For this artist, we want 100 euros deposit, and there has 0 been paid. Let's say that the customer is right in front of you physically in your studio when you make the booking. Then you can immediately receive a deposit, like charge a deposit, I mean. That means you click on the deposit payment, you enter if the customer pays cash, with a card, with a gift voucher, or with something else, and then you would save it, and then it comes here as available deposits. Oftentimes bookings are made digitally. That means you cannot charge cash or with a PIN terminal because your customer is not with you. In that case, the email system of Tattoogenda is gonna start collecting the deposit as soon as you entered the booking. I will explain that later a bit better. Voila, these were the details about the project. Here you can also see that this customer has not filled out their consent form yet. When your customer arrives in your studio, that's the moment when you show them the QR code, here, the QR code, or when you send them an SMS or an email with the link to their consent form. So the QR code is the same link to their consent form. Your customer scans it with their own smartphone. It opens their consent form. It's a list of questions. You decide what your list of questions is. Of course, when you create your account, there's a default pre-made, which is most likely the one that your country wants. So your customer fills out the consent form, they sign it digitally, they hit save. And as soon as the customer filled it out, this red label will change to green and it will say that the consent form was filled out. You can then click it and then you can see what your customer wrote. This is most of the appointment module. I will not go to the wrap up now. That's for the payments part. All right, this was your calendar. Now we go to the artists. This is a full list of all the artists. I'm just gonna open one to demonstrate what can be said about an artist. So I'm gonna open guests. Yes, Cedric is a guest artist. He has full access and he is active. Active means he appears in every list where you can select an artist. You would make an artist not active if they did one guest spot in your shop and they decide not to come back. If you give them full access, it means in their appointment, they can click open the customer details and they will see the contact details of the customer. If they don't have full access, they will not get access to the contact details of customers. Another part of full access is that they are able to make and reschedule their own appointments. If they don't have full access, they cannot even make their own appointments. That would also be used when you have a guest artist for the first time and you make all the bookings for them. Then it is safer to start with not full access until you show them in the studio and you can explain how everything works. This is an interesting feature, photo required before payment. If you check this, it makes the system make the artist upload a picture before they can add a payment to the system. So now I checked it, I'm gonna save it. And we go to the calendar. Now I'm logged in as a shop, as the manager. The manager does not have to upload pictures, but imagine Cedric is logged in. Cedric would only see his own bookings, his own customers, his own projects and payments. And let's say Cedric opens his own appointment here and he goes to wrap up. The system will make him upload a picture of the finished result. I could skip this step since I'm a manager, but I'm gonna upload a picture now just for the demonstration. Okay, just an image. There we go. Yeah, there we go. You go to next, you say that this tattoo was 450. You add maybe some aftercare. You go to pay now. The customer wants to pay cash, 466.3, and you save it. So now I have saved the payment and the picture of the tattoo that was done that day. I did not fill out the consent form. I go back to my artists, see, and now I go to the Works tab, and here I see the wrapped up appointments that I just did. What can you see? The appointment start time, the consent SMS when it was sent. So this is when it should have started. The consent SMS is when your customer really arrived in the studio. Here you can see at what time the payment was entered. Right now this doesn't make sense. The appointment was scheduled for 4:30 yesterday and we made the appointment today, a quarter before 4. But in real life, the payment is taken when the session ends. So you can see between when the customer arrives and when the session ends, how long the artist had work on this tattoo. And then you can see the price that they charged. You will see one of these cards for every session that happens. So this helps you to keep an eye on the consistency and the quality from the pictures. And if your artists are fair with the pricing that they make to your customers. If you don't care about this, if you have the time to follow up, if you are tattooing in between just a few artists and you see how everybody works, this is not necessary at all. In my studio, I'm quite busy. I'm not actively checking all the works that my artists do. So this system helps me for when I find the time to scroll through all the works and see where we are going. You can also keep address data from your artists. You can fill out their social media if you want. You can give them a separate color to keep your calendar clean, and more details. The language of your artist can choose in which language that they see Tattoogenda. There's a second tab, which is the financial and planning. Here you write the prices that your artists charge. It can be an hourly rate, it can be a daily rate, or it can be both. Your artist share is in this case 50, for example, 50 for the artist, 50 for the studio, and the amount of advance that you would always ask to your customers, like the default advance. Here we have some extra pricing information. In case this artist does a cover-up, we charge 100 extra more. Why is it useful to fill out these details? Because if you make an appointment, let's say somebody is in front of you and you want to make a new appointment, you select a customer and you're gonna make a project. Let's say I make a new project, so it's a full sleeve and it is for my artist Cedric. Voila. Next, I'm gonna go through this very quickly. Next, here with the price, I have this dollar icon, and this is just to help you remember what the price is for this artist. So here you see again the daily rate of 600, the empty hourly rate, and the extra info that it is 700 in case of cover-ups. So if you are making a booking and you forgot what is the price of that artist I'm making a booking for, you can see it very quickly here. All right, back to my artists. Cedric, there we go. What do we have here is guest spot planning. So I indicated that my artist is a guest artist. So let's add a guest spot for him. Let's say he arrives next month, 4th of February. The hour doesn't matter. And he leaves at 14th. All right. So starting 4th of February. Now my system asks me if I want to email the waiting list of this artist. So a guest artist comes back a few times a year, for just an example. There are customers that are not finished in the past guest spots. So in that case, you add those customers to the waiting list of that artist. And then when your artist comes back, you can email that waiting list. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to save the guest spot. And here in my calendar, I scroll to the 4th, and here you see the horizontal bar that indicates that Cedric starts working on 4th and ends working on 13th. So this is to have a visual site in your calendar so you know when which artist is available in your studio. So what else is there to say about an artist? We have the working hours. This page starts with quite some explanation. First of all, the booking links. booking links I will explain later, but to now mention it very short, it's a custom URL that you send to a customer with whom you already discussed the project. The customer wants to book with this artist, so you give him a link so he can schedule 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever sessions with this artist. The customer clicks it, he sees a calendar, and the customer can choose their own appointment dates. These working hours will decide when is an available place for this artist, because it is possible that some artists are not following the opening hours of the shop. By default, each artist has the same working hours as the shop has. It's up to you to tweak them. If this guest artist decides that he wants off every Wednesday, then you just change his working hours, and now the booking links will not allow for a booking on a Wednesday. Also, we have a mobile app. Very, very lightweight, not too many features there, but if you want to use the mobile app, it's a small screen from where you make a booking, and also that calendar on a mobile app will use these working hours to suggest you dates for where to book. And another one is, you will probably not use this for guest artists, is your website consultation form. Tattoogenda provides a snippet of code that you paste on your own website, and from there a customer can make a booking for a 30-minute consultation with this artist. So a customer can only make a booking for a consultation between the hours and the days that you have set here. There are some more parameters to this. The Works tab we have seen, the integrations. Your website integration means I go to settings. This is the snippet of code that I just talked about. If you copy the JavaScript and this HTML part, if you copy it in the right way on your website, it allows a customer to make a consultation booking. We have a Google integration, so each artist can connect its own Google Calendar, and then the Google Calendar on their phone will show all the Tattoogenda appointments too, and the other way around too. Tattoogenda will show all the Google appointments in the calendar. So let's say that your artist has a private family calendar in Google. He can connect it here. And this way you as the manager know which blocks in his calendar are already taken. You will not see the details. You will just see that he's busy. So you don't make double bookings. Very useful. Also, if you want to integrate with other marketing packages like Go High Level or things like that, if the other package connects to Google, we integrate to Google. Google is your combined source of truth. This is a nice way of integrating with other packages. Stripe. Stripe is the payment provider that you can connect to if you want to take deposits from customers online. So as soon as you made a booking in the system, your customer will receive an email. That email will ask your customer to pay a deposit. If they click the button, they are taken to a Stripe payment page. The default setting is that only the shop connects their own Stripe account. So for every customer, for every booking of the whole shop, the customer will get an email that links to the Stripe of the shop to pay a deposit. If you define that the artists are allowed to connect their own Stripe account too, I will show you where, here, also in the configuration parts, who receives customer deposits, the shop or the artist. So now it says the artist, and that's why on artist level you see a Stripe integration possibility. If I would choose the shop, then your artist will not see this integration possibility. The last one is Instagram, and Instagram is just basically a link that you copy. So first you activate it, and after activated you can copy a link. Then you can use something like bit.ly, for example, to make the link a bit shorter. And then you add this link in your bio so people can click it. And if somebody clicks it, it looks like this. You can define the colors of how it looks, like all this blue and this white now. It's in the branding settings in Tattoogenda, so you can define how you want it. This is again the consultation booking. So for example, the customer chooses this day, they fill out their details, they click on schedule consultation, and then they are in your calendar as a consultation client. The notifications, these are all the emails that your artist receives. So if you want that your artist knows what is happening with our bookings, you can choose to have them receive an email when you made a new appointment for them, when you rescheduled an appointment, when one was cancelled, when a deposit was requested to the client, when the customer paid a deposit, you can send an email. The customer confirmed appointments via a booking link is also a notification to your artist. Before the appointment, you can choose to send a reminder, and you can also choose to send an email when a consent form was filled out. I think this last one is a bit much. You choose if it's by email or by bell, and the bell means just this bell icon on your calendar, this one. So here I have 24 notifications. The last tab of the artist is the waiting lists that I already touched on. So we have a waiting list, and that is something you have to do manually. You just click add customer, you select your customer, and you save it. That makes your customer on the waiting list. The second one is the customer list. This is automatically filled out. These are all the customers that have been with this artist in the past. And you can choose, if you make a new guest spot, to email that list. For example, if you click mail list, first you see the template. It's not going to mail instantly. Just click it and you will see what will happen. This is the template. Dear customer, what is between the square brackets will be the real name of your customer, of course. You've been a customer of Cedric Moon in the past. That's why we let you know earlier than the general public. We are happy to announce these new dates. And then these are the dates of the guest spot that I just added. In case you want to book a new appointment, just reply. And then this is the email from the studio. Now you can choose to send it. So in real life, what we do is if one of our guests announce new dates and we agree, he makes a new guest spot in our shop, then first I will email the waiting list, because those are customers who are actively waiting for this artist to return. A few days later, I'm gonna email the customer list, and a few days later, I'm gonna announce it on social media. Great, this was everything about artists. Let's go to customers. This is a list of customers. You can unfold them. If you unfold them, you see first all the tattoo projects, and if you unfold the project, you see all the appointments of that project. So this was the title of the project. Again, this is just dummy data. This is the artist performing. This is how much deposit is still left on this project to be used. And this is how much the customer spent already. Here we have a customer, Cairo. There is a lot of data for this customer. Here we see his first project. Again, it's dummy data. Artist Greg, 0 deposit left on this project to be used and 608 euros spending in total. You can see this project had 2 appointments. First time they paid 600 and second time they paid 8. That has not been filled out the consent form, bad habit. You can open more projects. A pizza tattoo, interesting here. This one says it was cancelled by notification. A notification is coming from us towards the customer, and it said, look, we reminded you twice to get the deposit paid. You did not pay it, so now we're going to cancel it. So the system canceled it. You choose if you want to have the system doing that for you or not. If we open a customer, what can we see? Email, first name, last name, phone, date of birth. You can choose to keep their Instagram and Facebook URLs. Depending on the laws in your country, you can choose to upload a picture of their identity card and save it in your files, so you don't have to ask it every time. You can keep their gender if you wish, and this part is interesting. Let's say you make a booking in the system sends out an email to your client, the email asks to pay a deposit, the customer clicks the button, lands on a payment page. Before that payment page is there, you see a pre-page, so to speak, and that page asks, are you interested in coming earlier in case an empty spot becomes available? Then the customer can indicate that they are interested to fill an empty spot when a no-show happens. A no-show happens instantly. Or if they are interested in taking an earlier spot in case of a cancellation happening. And a cancellation, you know that a few days ahead. If the customer indicated they want to be contacted, it could look like this. And then we ask the customer some work information. For example, the customer filled out, I'm available every Thursday and Friday. Voila. Now, this is the customer. Here you can see the info that I just entered. Now, let's say our artist Greg has a no-show. Then you just go to the customer list. Craig is not active, so he's not in the list anymore. Let's take this one. If this artist has a no-show, then you can say, I want to see all the customers that indicated they want to be contacted if I have a no-show. So now you see this customer Cairo. In real, you would want to check this one too, only with future appointments. There's no point in calling a customer that has no future appointments, okay? I just wanted to give a demo for this. So now we have a list, and it's up to you to pick up your phone, call the client and say like, look, you indicated you want to be contacted if a no-show happens. This is the moment. Are you interested in coming and doing a session today? What else can we say about customers? You can keep their address, data if you wish, their language. If you have a shop with customers in multiple languages, then it's interesting to keep this up to date because all the automated emails that we send to customers can be different per language. If you open a customer, you can also see all the projects that this customer had. Let's go to the automated emails. I mentioned them a few times now. This is the automated emails. There we go. The first email that Tattoogenda sends to your customer is an appointment registration email. Basically, this email is sent 30 minutes after a booking is made, not instantly. Why? Because a tattoo can have multiple appointments. If you send this email immediately and you book 5 appointments for the same project for the same customer, this customer would receive 5 emails. You don't want that. We made a buffer of 30 minutes just to give you time enough to do all the input necessary, and then 30 minutes later the system collects all the data at once and puts them in the same email. So this email looks like this. Dear customer, again, the data between the square brackets will be filled out with the real first name here. Recently, you booked a new appointment with our artist, Cedric Moon. This is a list of your appointments. This will list all the dates and the start hour, not the end hour. To confirm your appointment, we request a deposit of, and this is then the default advance of this artist, 100 euros, for example. Please click the button below to make a payment. Let's say this project still has 50 euros deposit left over and you make a new booking for it and you want 100 euros, then this email will also say we already have a partial payment of 50 euros, just so your customer is not freaking out. Then they will have the confirm appointment button. This button leads them to the payment page, also where we ask if they want to be contacted in case of no-shows. Okay. If you are not connected to Stripe, if you don't want to take digital deposits, if you want to keep payments out of the system, then you just don't connect to Stripe, and then this button will not be here and this text. It will just be an email listing the dates, and that's that. But let's say for demonstration's sake, we are connected to Stripe, like here. This email is sent out first time, then you can choose to wait, for example, 1 day. You can change it, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. We choose 1 day, you wait 1 day before a first reminder is sent. The reminder says, dear customer, recently you booked a new appointment with our artist, Cedric Moon. According to our records, the advance of 100 euro has not been paid. Please confirm your appointment by clicking on this button and paying your deposit. Customer clicks the button or doesn't. If he doesn't, the system can send a second reminder. Again, you choose how many days later. And if you wish, but you can also disable if you want. In my shop, we have this one disabled, to be honest. So you can choose to have the system automatically cancel appointments that did not receive a deposit on time. Then the system says this: dear customer, our system has automatically canceled your appointment with us because we did not receive your deposit on time. If you wish to book again, it's not a problem. Just send an email to and then your email, and we will reactivate your booking. All these emails, you can tweak them by clicking update content. You can change the subject line of that email. You can change the title of the email. You cannot change the first alinea of the email because that contains a lot of logic of our codes. And then after the button, like what we call the footer, from there you can change it again. In all these emails, I would write your own deposit rules. Where can your customers park? Should they bring food and drinks, or do you provide something? All this organizational stuff. The next one is an appointment reminder. You can choose to do this by email or by SMS. This is the only one by SMS up till now. And it's just a reminder saying, this is a friendly reminder of your appointment on the date at 12 o'clock, for example. You choose how many hours before the appointment that this SMS is sent. In my studio, we only do the SMS and not the email. Next step here is when a customer arrives in your studio, you show the QR code for the consent form, they fill it out, and this is like a little event. You cannot click it, you cannot change it. It's not an email, it's just to explain you the order of things. So when a customer filled out their consent form, Tattoogenda automatically sends this filled out consent form to your customer. And while it does that, it also includes an aftercare PDF. This is how the email looks. Dear customer, attached are your aftercare instructions. Be sure to follow them closely for proper healing. Below you will find a link to your signed consent form, which you filled out before your appointment. And then this is a link to the consent form. Hope to see you soon. Of course, when you create a Tattoogenda account, there's a default PDF involved. You can just leave it like it is, or you can choose to update your own aftercare instructions with your own PDF with the branding of your studio. Now the appointment is happening. Again, this is just a square to indicate the flow of things. You cannot click it or change anything. And then after the tattoo is finished, you can choose how much days you wait after the finishing. Let's say 3 days, and then you can send an automated email that asks how the tattoo is recovering, but also that asks if the customer wants to leave a review. This is how we collected over 600 honest reviews from our studio without ever having to ask it ourselves. So this works really well. If you want to do it, go to update content again, and here you can change your title. You can also call it like, you can do us a huge favor, or this would mean a lot to us, or whatever you like as a title or as a subject for the email. And here you can really use it for asking the review and give a link to the Google review page. This was everything about the automated emails. Let's go back to, so we had artists, we had customers, we have projects. Projects is all the tattoo projects that are booked in your studio. It's pretty similar to the customer list, but in the customer list you have customers, projects, appointments. In the project list you have project appointments. So this is all the titles. So let's say you remember a customer last week booked a dragon tattoo, but you need to fix something and you don't remember where you booked it with. You just type here dragon and then you find everything that matches that term. You unfold your project again to see all the appointments of that project. Then we have products. Products are like aftercares, shirts, piercing jewelry, things like that. You start with making a few groups, which can be merchandise, aftercare, piercing. If you want, you can divide your piercing groups per supplier, for example, or per genre of jewelry. And then in the products, if you add the products, it's pretty simple. You give it a name, aftercare, brand A, whatever. The price is 16 euros. You add it to the group of aftercare. You write a description. You can add a picture if you wish. You can keep your stock. If you don't keep stock, just write 1,000 and you save it. Now, every time that you wrap up an appointment, you can choose to add a product to the total payment, and then you take care of that. Here we have a list of consent forms. These are all the consent forms filled out per day. So per appointment, you can just open the appointment and see the filled out consent forms, but you can also draw a list of all consent forms. This is mostly useful if you have inspection in your shop and you need to show to the inspection that you keep consent forms. Booking links. This is a unique feature. A booking link is a unique link that you send to a customer in case you are making bookings in a digital way. If a customer sends you an email, an WhatsApp, an Instagram, or maybe even a Facebook message, you discuss the full project with your customer, you agree on everything, you mention price, artist, everything is okay. Now you need to schedule the dates. If you want to do this by communicating digitally, it could take you a few times back and forth before you find a date that matches for both sides. Not to mention the days that they leave in between before they answer, and you can restart with providing available dates. So this is what the booking links solve. Let's say you are communicating with a customer, everything is clear, you're gonna make a booking link for them. So here I say I want a booking link for my artist, Cedric. The price that I agreed with my customer was between 800 and 900 euros per session. I want 100 euros deposit before they can add an appointment. The project is, I always use Bumblebee as example, whatever. I want 2 sessions. You can add a description for the project. You say how many minutes per session. I'm gonna say 360, which is 6 hours. If you want, you can already add the references, or your customer can also add references if you allow them with this checkbox. Now you generate a link, you get the link, you provide this link to your customer. So if your customer clicks the link, this is what they see. Schedule your appointment with Cedric Moon. They see the price that I just typed, just as a reminder. They see the deposit that they will have to pay. They see that each appointment will take about 6 hours and that they should pick 2 appointments. So your customer starts choosing. He adds this one. Again, never mind the colors. This was just for experimenting. You can make it look nice and make it match your website. And now the customer has to find a second day. Okay, let's take this one. There we go. Now your customer fills in their name, their phone, their email. They can upload the image because you allowed them to. They can fill out their Instagram. It's not mandatory. They confirm the appointment. And now they are taken to the payment page. This is a staging environment. It's not real. Now your customer can make the payment digital. This amount of money lands on your Stripe account. In your Stripe account, you can define if you want Stripe to pay to your bank account every day or every week or every month or things like that. But now your customer pays here, and when that is finished, their appointments are immediately in your calendar with the paid deposit. If you do this, you will build a list of booking links. This is the list with all our dummy data. Here you can see these ones that are not in red are the ones that the customer booked. The ones that indicated in red with no booking yet are the ones that customers didn't click. So now you can, if you see this list, now you can go to your customer that you made a booking link for a few days ago and reminds them to click on the link, for example. Now you can see what they booked, the project title, which artist, who created it, if there was a deposit paid, what was the price, when was it created. And here you can re-email or re-text the same link to your client. And here you can see when was the last time that a notification was sent to your client. Also with the history icon. There we go. This is everything about the booking links. Maybe a last detail, the services. If you set up Tattoogenda, it comes with a default set of services. You can choose, the default is like a tattoo session, a checking design session, a talking about design session, and a consultation session. For piercings, we have by default 1 piercing service, but you can choose to add, for example, ear piercing, tragus piercing, lip piercing, whatever, if you want to make all these subcategories. And then the other kind of services, they are like private ones, like dentist appointments, just call them private, conventions, team meetings, things like that. Just so you understand, a tattoo service has a project, so the parent level that defines what this tattoo is about, and it has a customer and an artist. If you go to piercings, it does not have a project because a piercing is a one-off appointment. A piercing just has a customer and an artist, but not a project. So every type of service that you create here will not have a project. And then with other, it doesn't even have a customer. It's an appointment but just for an artist. It has no project, it has no customer. I'm gonna open one just to give you an example. The tattoo one, the most used service. So this is a tattoo service. By default, it takes 60 minutes. In my case, I would make it 360, for example. You can choose if you show this service on your online booking page. If you want to see what that page is and if you want to share it to your customers, you can click this eye icon. This opens a new page. It gives you a new URL. You can use this URL on your website, for example. These are all the services that I indicated that can be available on the website, so your customer can choose from it. You define if this service can have recurring appointments. That's a bit advanced. You define a price. You define if you want to ask a deposit online if a customer books this one online, mostly useful with piercings. You define which artist does this service, a bit description, a bit of an image per service. You can say what is the consent form and what is the ink passport. So ink passport is an EU law Not every EU country is already doing inspections on this. In Belgium, for example, not. In Holland, very much. So if you are in the Netherlands, you have the ink passport feature turned on. And in that case, you have to choose which ink passport, so which list of questions that you ask per appointment. And here you can also upload the aftercare form. So if your customer had this kind of service, when they filled out the consent form, they receive an email with their filled out consent form, which is this form, and with the aftercare sheet that is connected to this kind of service. Therefore, you also need to know that we have forms, and by default, you will have an ink passport form, you will have a consent form for tattoos, you will have a consent form for piercings, and you will have a piercing passport too. You can make your own forms, you can tweak each form. Let's open the consent form for tattoos. So this is a list of questions that you ask your customer, you make them sign. If they are less than 16, you make the parents sign. You can make these forms for yourself, or you can go with the defaults that we provide for you. I went over most of everything now. I did it pretty quickly, just to give you an oversight of what is possible. If you have more exact questions about how this would work for your studio, don't hesitate to book a demo with me. And don't forget, we always have this chat button in the right bottom corner. You can always ask us questions from inside the app. And also, again, you will see these little YouTube icons everywhere in the software. Everywhere you see this icon, you can just click it and it will open a video that explains this exact feature. I hope this helped. I hear you soon.